Hello again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related political issues, and self-defense cases. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com. A new show is posted every Thursday at around 5 p.m. Pacific time. New shows also appear on YouTube and numerous other media. The audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. Check out KELY1230.com for a station in your area. There are about 18 of them throughout Nevada at the moment that are running that, AM and FM. If you have questions or comments, you can send an email to me at bob@firedupmail.com or leave a message on my home office recorder, 702-257-1060. If you leave contact information, I'll respond by email, text, or telephone. If you have questions that are directed to any of our guests, they will be forwarded. If you have something you've been boiling over with, you can send that too, and I'll get a hold of whoever the guest was and get it to them. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States. Depending on who's doing the counting, there are possibly as many as 30,000 every year. Rarely are they covered by any mainstream media, so the object of the show is to present some of those for our listeners' education. Most of the ones we use are good shootings. Some are questionable. Sometimes they're clearly wrongful shootings. But the point is they're educational to firearms owners, people who keep guns for self-defense in their home, or people who carry one, to let you know what could happen, and you can put yourself in the position of the people involved and look at what the options were. The individual incidents, I have to tell you, are generally adjudicated under local law. The advice given here may not apply to listeners in different jurisdictions. The incidents I use are all as reported, except the names of the participants are generally deleted. We are looking at several stories here today, and we'll just kind of start into it. I'm flying solo today. We don't have a guest in view, so here we go. You'll only get my opinion on this one. Fox 11 TV reported June 26th of this year, 2019, in Lucerne Valley, California, a local female resident found an intruder inside her Lucerne Valley home overnight on Tuesday. According to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, around 12:28 a.m., I love police reports that say approximately 12:28 and 3 seconds, it's 12:30 in the morning. Deputies from the Victor Valley Sheriff's Substation responded to a residence in the 35,000 block of Harvest Moon Street in Lucerne Valley following the report of a shooting. Inside the home, deputies located the suspect, later identified as a local 32-year-old, suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. Now, the female resident told deputies she was asleep in her home when her dog started barking, waking her up. I love little yappy dogs to wake you up in the middle of the night when there's an intruder inside. They're great. I have several myself. The victim entered a bedroom where she saw the intruder hiding. Obviously, she decided to search the house herself instead of waiting for help. We'll address that later. Anyway, she told the police she became frightened and yelled at this intruder, telling him he didn't belong inside her home. The resident then returned to the living room and armed herself with a gun. So she leaves the bad guy in the bedroom, goes out and gets her gun, and now comes back. The intruder then approached the victim, and fearing for her safety, she fired once at the suspect. Deputies and emergency personnel arriving attempted life-saving measures. However, the suspect was pronounced dead at the scene. In the course of the investigation, detectives determined that the intruder had forced entry into the home prior to the victim locating him in the bedroom. Well, we already knew that. He was already inside the house when she went hunting. The investigation is ongoing, and the case will be given over to the district attorney's office for review. The victim in this case has not been arrested. And as a side note here, detectives are asking anyone with information to contact Detective Eric Stoll at 909-387-3589. Now some comments I've been boiling over with here. Always call 911 first to let professionals arrive and do the search if you have time to do that. Searching yourself is a really bad idea. Don't do that in these situations. The professionals have lots of friends with more guns. They can watch the back and the front of the house at the same time. And most of all, as I work in the area of litigation in firearms cases, they have free lawyers. Free to them anyway, paid for by the taxpayers. If it's at all possible, let the cops do it. It's not possible in every case. In this one, it looks like it was. So let the cops do it, and you don't have to worry about what's going on. This second story is from WFMU. I got notes and I got teleprompters. I'm doing all kind of stuff here. This is from WFMU TV 21. A reporter named Mike Gautier reported on June 25th this year, 19, in Warren, Ohio. A clerk was working the counter at the pit stop on Youngstown Road Southeast, told police that a man with a gun began crawling through the drive-through window just before midnight. Now, the store closes at midnight, an unusual way to get after-hour service. I've seen lots of stuff. I have never heard of a burglar robber climbing through the drive-up window to get into a closed business. But they had lots of surveillance cameras, as most fast food places do. Police say the surveillance video showed the suspect pulling a gun out of his waistband just before he lifted the window. He pulled the window up. The clerk pulled his own gun from under the register and fired a shot. The clerk told media he fired the shot just to scare the guy, the intruder. That certainly worked out, as the suspect, as soon as the round went off, immediately fled the scene. Unfortunately, it doesn't show whether he climbed back out the window or he ran out the door. I'll presume he climbed back out the window. Anyway, the suspect could be seen running on the video toward Kennyworth Avenue. Officers brought in a canine to track the suspect, but they did not locate him. Now, here's the problem. According to media, on the released police report, it says the clerk fired a shot in his direction. We'll get into that in a minute. First off, as I started, crawling through the drive-up window is a new method to attack closed fast food places. If you've ever heard of this happening before, send me an email and give me the site where I can find that, because that I find hysterical. The police report shows the clerk firing at the intruder confuses his comment that I just fired the shot to scare him. If he fired the shot at the guy, it will really complicate the case. You have to stay on the same program. This is why we always talk to people about the issue of getting an attorney. In reality, in this case, I would suspect the young man immediately should have called 911. He knows the guy's on video. Everything is on video. When the police arrive, don't run out to meet them. They're looking for a guy with a gun. Let the police come to the door, put the gun away. Now, in this case, the guy's gone, so there's no reason for him to be holding the gun. So he should have put the gun down on the floor or out of his reach somewhere. And with your hands up, because they don't know who the bad guy is, calmly explain that you're the guy who manages the place and there was an intruder and you know, this is your ID and so forth and so on. The gun's over there in the deep fryer so you wouldn't shoot me when you came in the door. And I'd like to talk to an attorney before you question me at all. Standard procedure, again, they're going to take you down to the police station while their crime scene guys are going through the evidence to look and see where the shell casing is, where the broken window is broken from the inside or the outside, all this level stuff. And when you get to the police station, you calmly say, I'd really like to calm down for a while. I'd like to have my attorney here so I can answer questions. But in doing that, you have to specifically say, I want my attorney here now. I've run into a few cases where the individual made the asked the question, do you think I need an attorney? Is that legally asking for an attorney? No. You're asking the policeman's opinion if you need an attorney. So he may say, well, you know, that's entirely up to you. Innocent people don't usually get attorneys right off the bat, or whatever he's going to say. Just tell him, I really want an attorney here before I answer any questions. That's it. And you'll get one. That's the easy part. We're going to take a short moment here to show some commercial slides of some of our friends and sponsors, which I'd like you to look through and see who you like. This first one is my friend Chris Eifelt at CCS Gunsmithing here in Las Vegas. You can reach him at 702-365-1732. Been a frequent guest here, runs a lot of the NRA programs, and very helpful individual and a great gunsmith. Now, we've got another one of my guests. Boy, all my guests have commercials here. Jerry Creed. The slide says he does probates and settlements and estate planning, but what Jerry specializes in is firearms trusts. If you have a trust, so trying to leave your guns to your heirs, particularly if you have a Class 3 trust, because the rules are changing literally every time Congress meets, you need to get a hold of Jerry and have him write you up a Class 3 trust. I do it with a regular gun trust anyway, if you have lots of relatives, to make sure who gets what. Keeps it out of probate court. But the particular problem here is Class 3s because of the rule changes. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-777 or at trustjerry.com. Jerry at trustjerry.com. Good website. My guest I'm missing tonight also is a sponsor. This is Don Green. He's had 35 years experience in gun litigation cases. You can reach Don in Las Vegas at 702-409-8239. He has Spanish speaking available and so forth, as most of the attorneys do. And most of these guys will, defense attorneys, normally give you a free consultation to look at your case and tell you what he thinks he can do. Jerry Creed does that. Don Green does that also. Don is really good at this. We've hit heads a few times, and honestly, when we have, usually turns out he was the one that was right. So we'll let it go and go to the next slide. Maggie Mordaunt, my favorite lady instructor. She is known as CCW Maggie. She teaches all over the world now, trains police officers, trains Marines to when they want to learn to be NRA instructors, and teaches gun safety and females only classes and all sorts of things. Her website is www.hpptraining.com, or just hit CCW Maggie, M-A-G-G-I-E, on your search engine, and you will get a ton of information. A brilliant instructor for firearms, along with her not quite as brilliant husband, but, you know, he's got to be your husband. He's pretty good too. And after that, we have my favorite restaurant where you will find me anytime I'm not at home, Ricardo's. It's at 4930 West Flamingo. It's at the corner of Rainbow and, Decatur and Flamingo. Great guy runs it. The guy the owner is an arch conservative and supports conservative candidates, very pro-gun guy. And the food is great. If you have an event you'd like to put on where you're going to have a guest speaker or something come, he can do that for you and set it up. I'd recommend Ricardo's to anybody within the sound of my voice. If you live in Ely, drive to Ricardo's and have dinner there. You'll love it. Okay. This third story, I think that's where I am. Yes, comes from. I've got story 3. Oh, there I am. It's at the bottom of the page. I'm sorry. The prompter lady is right, and I'm wrong again. WECT-TV6, a reporter named Jim Gentry in Wilmington, North Carolina, reported on June 24th of 19 this year. Whiteville man is accused of trying to force his ex-girlfriend into a car at gunpoint. According to Michelle Tatum with the Columbus County Sheriff's Office, deputies responded to R.L. McCoy Drive at around 3 a.m. The actual police report said at approximately 2:58 a.m. I love police reports. In reference to a disturbance involving weapons. The female victim told deputies that her ex-boyfriend broke into her residence while armed with a firearm. That can be a little disconcerting at 3 in the morning. The ex-boyfriend then pushed her out of the home at gunpoint and struck her multiple times with a closed fist and the firearm. While the intruder was attempting to force the victim into his vehicle, her roommate intervened and held the suspect at gunpoint until law enforcement arrived. One would have thought he might have intervened a little sooner than that, but anyway, I don't know, it's a he, it may have been a she. The report wasn't specific on that I've seen so far. Police said the kidnapper disposed of his firearm, but it was found where a witness saw him discard it. The intruder has been charged with first-degree burglary, second-degree kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, and is being held on $102,500 bail. From the information available, this is clearly a valid pointing of a firearm. In most areas, you can certainly get in trouble for pointing a weapon in a threatening manner if it's not necessary for self-defense and this and that. And some of them you're going to get in trouble no matter what happens. If you're in New York City, you really have to just let the guy kill you and don't point the gun because you're going to go to prison anyway. I'm exaggerating, but it's, in some states it's tough. In California, it's particularly tough. I've had a number of cases I've worked that were California origin that caused lots of consternation for pointing a firearm in a threatening manner. Anyway, had she filed a protective order, there was discussion in the report that she was thinking about filing a protective order, but she thought it would just make him mad. Again, if it's gone that far that you want to file a protective order, file a protective order. Having that in hand puts you one up in all of the litigation that's coming later on. If you have made a report of it, the belief that it'll just make it matter, if the relationship's gone to where you need a protective order, it's probably gone anyway. So I would suggest that. All these things are individually different. If you can't file a report, go down and just talk privately to the desk sergeant or one of the detectives and say you don't want to file a report, but this is happening and you're really worried about it. He'll make a record of it in his log. He'll also tell you to file a report, and you can certainly refuse to do that. But let the police know, or the district attorney's office know, that this is an existing problem, or you're a private attorney if need be, so you don't have to talk to the police at all. The police are free. So do something like that to protect yourself from future litigation, because if you need to point the gun or use the gun, it'll help. Hi, I'm Bob Irwin, and I get to do my own commercial. The short version is I've had 50 years experience in firearms, firearm repair, firearm design, 30,000 CCW holders I personally taught, 20,000 security officers, etc. Taught in 28 police academies, firearms and use force. I've also appeared more than 200 times in gun-related cases in federal, state, and local court. I wrote this book, The Reality of Armed Self-Defense, because it answers virtually all the questions that I get every time I talk to people, answers questions that come in the emails. It will tell you what you need to know to keep yourself out of prison if you get involved in a self-defense shooting case, keep from losing your house in a civil lawsuit. There are lots of things I've learned over these years and watched people make a lot of mistakes. This book will save you a lot. If you purchase one, read through it, I'm sure you will find it enlightening. And it'll save me a lot of time on these shows trying to explain to people what they did wrong and what they shouldn't have done and so forth and so on. So you can buy it by sending me the funds at the address below, bob@firedupmail.com, or leave a message on my phone number there, which is 702-257-1060. I will return your calls and tell you where to mail the money and so forth and so on. They're available on my website also, which is attached to this regular show. Cost is $15. I said add for postage if you live outside the immediate 50 states. And I will get it to you first class mail. Thank you for listening. This book will save you a lot of hassle. Thanks. Okay, that'll do it basically for this episode of Fired Up. I want to remind listeners that you can check out all of our shows at www.firedupwithbobirwin.com. It has our recent shows and older shows being added as we get time. It is the commercials that keep us, keep everybody in this media alive. We have a website, firedupwithbobirwinstore.com, which contains the books you just saw, lots of t-shirts and hats and things. I keep getting threatened. I've got another book in the works. I'm trying to get it done in the next month or so. I've said that promise several times to the publishers. Anyway, capitalism wins. So where you saw our sponsors, please patronize them and mention Fired Up when you do that. That would help. We'll be back next Thursday on our website at YouTube and the American Guns and Glory Network. Don Green is scheduled to be our guest for excuse me, next week's show, which is released on the 4th of July. So when you're watching us, please hit your computer or phone and tap subscribe on wherever it comes through the media. You will get these broadcasts directly as soon as we post them, usually on Thursday afternoon. This one's going out on Friday afternoon. Once in a while, but be sure and check out our websites for the logo. I thank you so much for watching Fired Up, and we will see you all next week. Have a great week.